Welcome to the Sales Podcast, session 95, where we turn blue collars into green dollars. Welcome to the 95th edition of the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host, coming at you on a chilly Monday, November 17th, 2014. For those that don't think it gets cold in California, in Southern California, guess again. It's 45 degrees this morning. I don't care who you are, that's cold. Plugged in a little space heater and gotta love it. Through a breaker. Now I can't figure out which one. Had to unplug my computer, plugged in a different outlet. There's always something. Always something. Well, today we got Mr. Gary Loper on. I found him through Twitter. The dude has a huge following, and it's so interesting hearing his story. I'm 44. He's, in his 50s. He talks about growing up in a blue-collar town, actually working in factories until factories no longer existed, at least in his part of the world. He drove taxis, became a massage therapist. He had several ups and downs. But he kept on plugging away. So I don't want to steal the thunder, but a great interview with some great insight. So I know you'll take away quite a few nuggets from this session. If you want to listen to the notes on this, just visit thesaleswhisperer.com/Gary-Loper, and you can see a summary there as well as links to his sites and other pages. Today's funny is not even a funny. I've got this little book of useless information, but you know what? It's not useless if you can win it in a bar bet and get a free beer. All right. So I'm always giving the Sales Whisperer. I'll give you one here at the beginning. I'll give you another at the end. But so check this out. If anybody ever wants to know what a fingerprint is also known as, you can tell them it is a dactylogram. So something I never knew, and now you know it as well. So with that bit of knowledge, let's jump right into the Sales Podcast Creed, which is: today is my day. I work diligently towards my goals, which are bigger than me. I bite off more than I can chew, because only then will I truly know my current limits, and surpassing them becomes my new goal for today. Through education, accountability partners, and bold, decisive action, today will be better than yesterday, and tomorrow will be better yet. I'm ready to produce. So now, without further ado, Mr. Gary Loper. Gary Loper, my social media friend, welcome to the Sales Podcast. How the heck are you?
Excellent, Wes. Pleasure to be here, spend some time with you, talk a little Twitter, talk a little bit about our journeys. So happy to be here.
There you go. Yeah, I ran across you, 117,000 followers. One day, if I speak to enough smart people, maybe I'll get to 10,000. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just not cut out for it. But you're doing something right.
Well, there's a lot of things we can do. That's actually some of the things that I do for people is help manage their accounts and help them build targeted followers. In addition to also to some of the do-it-yourselfers, we've created some a training course where people can be able to learn, it's learning on demand. So there are a lot of different things. It's like anything else. You just have to be able to build your muscle and utilize the tools, and we can get you there.
Yeah, I've always had kind of a love-hate relationship with social media. I see it's too easy for people to fall into a trap and just goof off and think they're really working. But today, not even an hour ago, I just closed a sale on Infusionsoft. $2,000 down and $259 a month, and I met the guy on Twitter like 10 days ago. Maybe 2 weeks ago, we had a conversation. Shortly thereafter, I had a follow-up call with his assistant on Friday, and I said, "Hey, I got you a promo for the end of the quarter," and boom, they bought. So it's you can definitely make money on social media, can't you?
You can, and I think it's a relationship aspect too, is, if you're putting the information out there and really being able to use the mindset of building trust and rapport, if you spend the majority of your time building that relationship, establishing that trust, and then working in your offers, and they're worded to a point that they solve somebody else's problem, So, and I think that's where most of the success is coming from. Most people are going to look at a tweet, and if it's going back to a blog post or a show or an offer or something else, they look at it with two different things. They say, tell me more, or so what?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking probably about 95% of the tweets that are out there, people are getting a so what reaction.
Yep.
So if we can be able to focus on what's in it for them, what is the reader, what is the audience, how is what we're doing going to solve their problems and improve their life, and if we have that focus, I think a lot more people can be even more successful using social media.
So what is your background? I see on your website a little bit, 25 years of personal development, but I mean, what's your story?
What's my story? Going way back, going to be back.
Way back when I was knee high to a grasshopper.
The whole Peabody and Sherman story, going to Wayback Machine. I got out of high school, started working in factories. In fact, it's kind of the Billy Joel time. It was before all the factories shut down in the 80s. And so I bounced around, and I wound up deciding, well, I'm going to, instead of keep hurting my back in car accidents while driving cab or working and going back into other machine shops, I decided I'm going to go to school for marketing. And I went, in 1989, I went to school and got my marketing and sales degree.
Wow.
And that was 15 years after high school. And then that's when I first met Tony Robbins and Dennis Waitley through videotapes in a public speaking class. And that's when I sort of got the bug about wanting to coach, wanting to teach, wanting to be able to be that motivator. And that opened up new doors, new awareness that I'm going to keep growing. I'm going to be, keep studying personal development every single day since 1989 when that happened. We worked at a lot of customer service jobs, worked in a marketing company where we did customer satisfaction surveys for Buick and Range Rover, and managed inbound 800 lines for Buick, Range Rover, Mitsubishi Electronics. We were handling 12 different calls simultaneously before the internet, handing out product information in a dealer referral program. Mm-hmm. So we just kept growing and things. Worked in the wheelchair industry, which I loved. And then I moved to Florida, still worked in the wheelchair industry, still worked more customer service. And then I started developing more of an interest in some of the healing arts and trying to be able to heal myself and be able to help other people. Became a massage therapist, which really opened a lot of the spiritual practices for me as well. And I was doing well with that. And I was led into doing massage for people with disabilities. Mm-hmm. So people with CP and Tourette's and dyslexia, all sorts of different things. And so it was a whole different massage, and it was a different awareness for me. And what really happened, in addition to making a nice income and nice hours, I got a lot of the emotional support that I needed because I was in these people's houses. Became part of their family. I was there a couple times a week. Then the funding for that program was eliminated, and that just sort of devastated me. Fell on a couch for a while. And in one of the ways that picked me up, I said, well, I've been collecting these motivational quotes even before I went to school. And so I started sharing those on Twitter, which we just got introduced to a couple of months before that.
Wow. And
then people started responding on Twitter. So they started asking questions about They started retweeting. They started commenting. They started having conversations. Then I got one of those, those tap moments where I said, okay, you got your coaching certificate back in 1999, haven't done a thing with it because you were out doing massage. You're going to start coaching. So it's like one of those things is like, one door closes, another opens.
Yep.
So that's what I really saw. And it was really been able to put all of those experiences into a ball that where I can be able to come from a lot of different perspectives to help people from the healing arts, from these entrepreneurs, people in MLM who are looking at how they can be able to, handle some of the life problems, that prohibit themselves from being able to achieve their success.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things that I specialize in. Love teaching Twitter, and I think it's an underutilized tool for people to be able to use it correctly and to be able to use it as a lead generation, build warm markets. And like you said, you can make a contact, have a conversation, and boom, you're making sales. Individual results always vary.
Objects in mirror are closer than they appear.
Yeah. But it's it's been an interesting thing, and so now we've been focusing on teaching Twitter, teaching groups and organizations how they can be able to use it, and then also being able to work with those entrepreneurs on how to be able to get themselves out of the way, deal with some of the stuff that stopped them, to be able to help them propel them forward so they can share their messages with the world.
So, you get a lot of things going on there. I mean, looking back on that, you were getting funding for that doing the massages. So basically, you fell victim of having all of your income coming from one source, huh? Yep,
that's a dangerous thing, and I read the Harvey Mackay book even before that, and never realized that.
It doesn't sink in to actually get bit by that shark, huh? And
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. I think actually the book that I read, the book I read was "Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty" or something, and that's when he talked about multiple streams of income, and I didn't grasp that.
Right. Yeah, once you bang your head against the wall and you go, oh, yeah, that's what that means.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting, though, that you talk about it. I mean, I like the way you got knocked down but got back up. And it's like that Acres of Diamonds story, right? I mean, you had everything you needed right under your fingertips, right? But you still let yourself get down for a little bit. And I think it's normal and natural for all of us, and I want to encourage people to, I just interviewed a guy that was in Vince Palco. He was in Matt Fury's mastermind group, and that helped him get to the next step. So surround yourself with great people, but also realize tools like this podcast, I mean, they're free, right? You probably have great resources right under your nose. You just need to take action, right? And that's what you did. You had it all there. And you're like, you know what? Enough of the pity party. Let's take action.
It was. And I think it's one of the things, too, is, taking that personal inventory. Those bouts of depression, some of those blue spots, those were a genetic disposition. My mother had it. And, and I didn't even realize that I had it. But when I started looking back at my life and seeing where I got stuck, I saw that. And that's... you start seeing what you're doing, what you're continually doing. Is okay. I got to get up. I got to do something different. And it's one of the things. Even on Twitter, I put out these, a hashtag affirmation called "Just for Today." So it's hashtag "Just for Today," all one word affirmations. And the reason why it's just for today, because people say, well, that should be an everyday affirmation. And I would tell people, it says, well, when you get down that low, you can't go from depression up to joy. That's too big a ladder to go on. You got to go, just for today, I'm going to be better at this. Just for today, I'm going to take better care of my health. I'm going to do more exercise. I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to make those contacts. Whatever it is, it's just for today. It becomes a huge elephant if you start looking at, okay, I'm going to do this every day.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to be able to build the habits. And one of the things that I found in my personal development, physically, spiritually, emotionally, is I can talk myself out of anything for the first 60 days.
Mm-hmm.
But if I force myself and I have a calendar and I put check marks on that calendar, after between 60 and 90 days, there's something that clicks in there that becomes part of my DNA. Now I have to go. Now I have to do it.
Right.
I got kind of fluffy by doing a lot of stuff on Twitter and sitting at the desk, and so we got an elliptical machine. We got a Nautilus elliptical machine, so it's a great thing. I never got on it, but back in June I decided I'm on the thing. Start doing the check marks, and if I miss a day for some reason, I'm feeling bad about it, and I'm not feeling complete.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it's an important thing for people to be realized is, okay, you want to create these habits, but if you just do them daily and eventually they'll grow into it, and without you even knowing, somewhere in that 60 to 90 day period, it will sink in and be a habit that you'll be able to keep forever.
Yep. I remember when I was a stockbroker and I learned this mutual fund sales guy came in and gave a presentation. And I always remember he said, people overestimate what they can achieve in a year and underestimate what they can achieve in 5.
Mm-hmm.
And that was talking about investing, of course, but, in personal development or whatever, you can compress that down to 30 days and 6 months, or some kind of time frame like that. Because, 60 days, just for today, I'm going to do this,
Right.
and that's so important because people. I wrote a blog post a while back, talking about, your big, hairy, audacious goals are crippling you, because people, it's so easy to write some big thing, right? I'm going to live in a mansion on the Beverly Hills and drive a Lamborghini and have a helicopter take me to the airport where I'll fly first class around the world and people will love me. And then it's like, oh, hell. So I'm done with that goal. It's now 8:05 a.m. What do I do to make that happen?
Yeah, well, I had that. See, I recognized a long time ago, I'm a visionary. So I get those ideas, and instead of one elephant, I get a herd of elephants. And so you get that big hairy herd of elephants, mammoths going on there, and then where do you start? And it wasn't, I started looking at, actually it was in a sales scripting course that I learned about chunking things down.
Yep.
And it's just like, okay, so, here's your big goal, but what do you need to be able to do? What has to happen for that to happen? Bump, and go down there and make it into smaller steps.
Mm-hmm.
For presentations, you're not making a 60-minute speech. You got 10 5-minute ideas.
Right. Yeah. So how did you know about depression, and did you know this kind of ran in your family, or do you recognize this with hindsight?
Probably when we're growing up, we never really realize it. But, when you go back in hindsight and you look at it, well, why wasn't mom ever out of bed? Why didn't mom come to these functions with us? A lot of these other things. And then when I started getting hit with some hard experiences, I found myself frozen up on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really a thing, it's really, if we can go back and look back at our lives and start looking for those milestones and start looking for those patterns. And that's what it took for me, is looking back, where was I stuck? What happened? After each of my divorces, each of the relationships, some of the other situations that have happened in my life, what was my reaction to it?
Right.
Then I started seeing what that reaction was, and then I can be able to, start making some better choices.
Yeah. But then, I've fortunately not had to grapple with that. And I'm from the old school of, hey, just suck it up and get over it. But I know.
Do you ever get over it?
It's not that easy, huh?
Yeah. Some people may be more successful at burying it, but I don't believe that you're ever over it.
Right.
I've come to a point where I can be able to rationalize and I can understand and even accept my parents and their lack of emotional availability.
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand that, but I also have to look at, there's still a little boy part of me that wants that from them, but I know that I'm never going to get it.
Yep.
So even now, they're in their 70s. I'm in my later 50s, and it's not going to happen. But there's still that little boy part of me that wants it, and he's disappointed when it doesn't happen. So I think when you learn that, and you can be able to accept what is going to happen, what's not going to happen, what can you control. And so for me, I just have to be able to create some distance so I don't put myself in that position of being hurt again.
Right. So is that what you would tell people? Because I know a lot of people, they don't want to get help when they have whatever issue they're dealing with. So, what would you say to somebody that is grappling with that right now, if they're not willing to go get help? What's something they can do to try to plow through it or navigate those waters?
Well, one of the things, my experience on Twitter. So I started sharing tweets. And so I started connecting with people, and and initially it was selfish. So I started putting messages out to lift myself up,
Sure.
and people started connecting. Every day, people now, 6 years later, every day, thanks for that message. It was great things, great reminder. My teacher said that, or my grandma said that, something else. And I just found myself, that's a responsibility for me. I took it as a responsibility to be able to help inspire and give, like Zig Ziglar said, the motivational bath. I'm kind of the motivational shower on Twitter. So be able to provide that. And it's really amazing. And you need to be able to be looking for things, looking for help. And it reminds me, back in February of this year, 2014, I got a tweet from a young girl who said, "I can never thank you for what your tweets have done for me." And there's a part of my head going, "Please, please tell me." So I composed myself and said, "Well, could you share more in an email?" Shared my email address, and I opened the thing up and I started bawling. She confided to me that she was ready to take her life. And one of those just for today affirmations came across her stream, and something resonated in her to be able to continue to work with the debilitating disease that she has, and to be able to help others with their journey through that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, getting back to your question about that, what can you do? Is plug into things. Start, use Twitter, the search thing in there. Look for positive messages. Look for positive people. Surround yourself. There's, what do they say, that your success or your income, your education is based upon the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with.
Mm-hmm.
So get out there and surround yourself with better people. Upgrade your friends. Upgrade your associations. Twitter's probably the best way, is because there's no filters. You don't have to get my permission to follow me and be able to, to dip your toe into that motivational shower.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what, get books, get tapes, and you'll be able to really find out, the accessibility on Twitter, even of, big authors. Deepak Chopra, Neil Donald Walsh, T. Harv Eckert have all responded to me on Twitter, and actually they reached out to me on a couple times. So these people are available, and and if you reach out to enough people, somebody's going to be able to connect with you. But it's like anything else. It takes a little time. It takes trust. You have to put yourself out there. And what I found was, that's one of the reasons I'm passionate about sharing this, is because I know what I went through is an experience that I can be able to share with a lot of other people who are going through something similar.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the great things about social media is it's a bringing out a lot of other motivation, a lot of other experiences that are going to be able to help heal so many other people who felt so isolated before. And so I think it's just an amazing tool. But get out, reach out, and I don't know. It's we talk about depression and not reaching out or something else. We don't know what all goes on in somebody's head. But Robin Williams, for example, how can we go on and know that somebody had meant so much and still felt such an internal struggle? We don't know. So I think it's not only do we feel bad and how can we reach out, is can we recognize in somebody else that they may need help,
Mm-hmm.
and not sit there and somebody responded to a tweet the other day and said, "Oh, well, if they ask, if they ask, then I'll be able to do it." And I go, well, if they were drowning, are you going to ask them how did they get into this trouble now that you're drowning and do an assessment, or are you going to throw something in or go in there and get them?
Yep.
And I think there's sometimes people are just afraid to be able to step in, and there's a lot, and it's a lot of other education. I don't know if society is really geared towards a lot of the mental health issues that we're seeing in a lot of different things with Robin Williams, some of these school incidences and a lot of other stuff, even domestic violence. There's a lot of mental health issues that that person can't just deal with himself.
Yep.
So it's it's not one person. It's two people's responsibility. It's okay. Hey, I'm damaged with this way. I react this way. Don't push that button. And learning how to not be able to accelerate something with somebody is something that you can do to be able to help them and be able to guide them to help. But if they're left to their own devices, then they say, well, then what's the sense? And then they end.
I never looked at Twitter quite in that regard. So, I mean, it's interesting because it's like I'm not studying it. I'm in and out, trying to stay focused on other things that I do, right? Versus, but I guess others are using it. They're on there more, right? They are scouring for interesting people to follow. They're looking for help. Other than the personal situation you talked about, do you have examples of how other people just in business have leveraged Twitter? Because I talked about the one I just got, but that's not like an everyday occurrence. I do make some sales from Twitter, but I don't feed my family because of it. But I know some people do.
Well, that just goes back to the multiple streams of income, and it's a relationship building tool. One of the clients that I work with is a sales coach. He's a great sales coach. Mentioned it before, and he's been focusing. He's been shifting his business. He's launched a book. He's done a few other things. So I've been managing his account, and we've created a presence for him. Now, he's actually not even on Twitter, so that's why I'm not going to mention his name yet. But just by creating his presence and creating conversations around, sales training and sales tips, and that whole conversation, he's listed at number 10 or number 13 regularly on one of the top sales people to be able to follow on Twitter. Mm-hmm. So by creating a presence, you get recognition. You can create recognition within the conversation.
Well, how do you know how to juggle, though? Because I have had people over the years, and really mostly recently, where I've tried to let them post for me, and they would create some, like a spreadsheet, and then I would tweak it. Like, okay, that's not me, delete, tweak. But I just feel weird having somebody post for me. And I'm just working with a company right now I'm starting a printed newsletter, and when they told me that they reuse content that they create over time, I'm like, well, that might be a problem. And sure enough, they sent me the first draft, and I'm like, I don't like any of that. It's like you got to find my voice, or I got to teach it to you, because I'm not going to send something out just to put something out there. And I know exactly. I'm a little different. I'm a writer, as part of my selling, I've always been a writer, so maybe I'm more sensitive to that than others. But how do we find that balance between getting some help? Because you can't do it all. I would love to outsource that, but how?
Well, like you said, it's been able to get to know the voice. Again, using my sales coach, we started, to introduce him into Twitter. We put out tweets, motivational tweets from all of his mentors, all the people that he had mentioned in his books, all the people who influenced him. And in time, then I went into his book and I pulled out all the tweets, all the tweetable things out of his book that came directly out of his voice. And other clients and people that I'm talking with, I have them going and doing the same thing, is go to your content, go pull out little tweetables, and be able to stick them in there, and we can be able to put them into rotation.
Right.
And then you and one of the things too is where people they don't get the aspect on Twitter is when they first start out, they say, oh, okay, well, here's a success. Wes got this 2,000 sales, so that's what I want. So I'm going to come out of the gate swinging. And it's like, no, you got to build trust and rapport. It's like trying to close the deal on the first dates.
Mm-hmm.
You may have some fun, but the long-term success of that relationship is questionable. So I have people look at it as the NPR and a PBS model.
Mm-hmm.
They've earned the right by providing quality content 24/7, 365. So when they do their fundraisers a couple times a year, you don't mind them asking, and you realize that that's part of business.
Right.
But if we spend 80% of our time, like we talked about, focusing on being entertaining, enhancing their lives, creating engagement. Now I just forgot my fourth E. I have 4 E's. I have my formula. But,
So what is it? Entertain?
Entertain,
Yep.
educate,
Okay.
enhance their lives,
Yep.
and create engagement.
Yep. Okay.
Now, those things are not invitations to be able to say, well, I'm going to educate you on what my juice can do for you. That's not what we're talking about. Use some third-party validation. I'll post quotes from Richard Branson all the time because I know that's a great educational thing. And if there's a choice between working with me or Richard Branson, if you can afford Richard, you're going to go work with him. If not, I'm hoping.
Well, you kind of look like him. You got kind of the gray and the beard going. I don't know. I mean, you can pull it off.
That's where we're going. That's I got a picture of him. That's where I'm. Tell my hairstylist, because my hair's been a mess. I'm okay. Well, if it's working for Richard, I can't go short. I'm going to do. But looking at focusing on the other people, and I think that's the key thing that people miss a lot of times. They're looking for something. It's not necessarily. I haven't seen where it's going to be a fast cash machine for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. But it is something that you've got to be able to add to your marketing mix. And the fact that you can be able to do that, and your tweets are searchable on all the search engines, everything. If you start using your keywords enough, you're going to pop up in Google and Bing and Yahoo searches, and that's something that doesn't happen on Facebook or LinkedIn. It may happen on Google Plus.
Don't they have a shorter lifespan though?
They still can be found.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that we talked about too, is about recycling. See, I had a hard time really about, even posting my blog post and hitting enter, because it was kind of that self-promotion I didn't want to. So that's why I automated it. So I didn't have to have that conflict about pushing and doing that promotion. And that way I can be able to automate, get those messages out there that, follow those 4 E's, help the people out. And then because that part's automated now, I can be able to go back and invest that time and be able to chat with people and learn with them and create the conversations. Mm-hmm. So, you're leveraging technology, but you still have to have the social aspect of social media to be able to make it, mega successful.
So let me ask you things on the more technical side. Like I noticed you have 2 Twitter profiles. Why is that?
Well, actually, that started I only started with one because I was always a huge proponent of only one, because otherwise it's like trying to herd cats.
Yep.
But it's turned this whole story. It's like how you can turn lemons into lemonade. Mm-hmm. I had a client who were helping them launch their book, and they didn't quite get Twitter, and they didn't get the fact that they had to engage and be what all they had to be able to do. So when they sort of bailed, I had an account with 15,000 people on it, and I says, "Well, I'm not going to throw this away. These are all still my audience." Mm-hmm. So I just switched it out and created a backup account. So for me, that second account, the Gary _Loper, is a lighter version. So I only post like maybe 30 or 40 tweets a day out of there. Mm-hmm. And so if you just want a little lighter dose, you can be able to go there. You want a heavier dose, I do about, probably do about 100 on my primary account.
Right.
But also that secondary account has come in helpful if you're doing a lot of Twitter chats or Twitter parties.
So talk to me about those, because I've never done one.
Okay. Well, the Twitter party or Twitter chats, for the most part, is a guided conversation. So it's like the old AOL or Yahoo chat rooms from days gone by. The moderator would ask a question, people would answer the question, and you just roll through this question and answer, and people would get engaged, and people would respond to everybody else's answers.
Okay.
So typically that happens an hour, and they go through about 6 to 9 questions an hour, depending on how large the group is or how fast they want to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
About a little more than a year ago, I decided I was going to do a Twitter party in celebration of my 5 years on Twitter, in order to be able to give back for all the things that I felt that I received from my community. So I decided I was going to do a 5-hour Twitter party.
Oh my gosh.
And just sort of make it a mega event that I wanted to be able to make it a virtual networking group.
Right.
So we can have this conversation, but I also created in marketplaces where people can be able to share links to their other social sites, share links to your ebook, your classes, your offers, and all these other things. And that very first Twitter party, we started trending on Twitter after about an hour. And we stayed number one trending topic for the rest of my party for 4 more hours, and then another 5 hours after the party, we were still the number one trending. So it's like, wow, okay. So we made some connections. So we've been doing Twitter parties regularly, bi-monthly, and
So
I think we're.
How do you do that? Like, I'm on Twitter right now. Do I have to go somewhere to schedule it?
Well, what I do is we use another service called Twubs, TWUBS,
Okay.
or Tweet Chat. Now, you can go in there if you wanted to. You could be able to register your own hashtag and create your own Twitter party. But you can find my Twitter parties if you went into Twubs, and if you look for GLTP,
Okay.
which is shortened for Gary Loper Twitter Party.
Okay.
And the next party that we're going to have is going to be on Saturday, October, was it 4th?
Okay.
And at 12 noon.
Okay.
So we've been doing a 3-hour Twitter party, and that schedule may change in the near future, but we're going to do a whole party, 3 hours, on positive mental attitude this time. So what you can do, there's a number of ways you can do it. Twubs is probably the best way to be able to participate in the party, because Twubs will automatically populate the hashtag into the tweet box, so you can respond and not have to do that, and you can just see the conversation that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Tweet Chat will do the same thing. You can also do a search on Twitter and just go up into this Twitter search box, type in hashtag Gary Loper, and that will just bring the stream up, and you'll just have to refresh, to be able to see the most current tweets. But
is Twubs free? It looks like it's free. Huh?
Yeah. It's a free service. So if you're looking at hosting your own party, you can put them in there. You can schedule it, and they've got a calendar. Or you can even look at the calendar and see, all the different Twitter parties and conversations that are going on this minute. And you can probably tap into 4 or 5 other conversations. So if you really wanted to use this as a networking and leveraging tool, and find people who are having conversations about some of the things that you want to talk about.
What if I throw a party and nobody shows up?
That's kind of happened. That's happened a couple times where there's only been 2 or 3 people, and it's frustrating, but it's just you're just putting out that information. Yeah. Again, the tweets are there. You're using the hashtag. They're all something that can be able to be recycled.
Right.
And then so one of the things that's what I'm doing is sometimes the attendance has wavered, so I started surveying the people who have attended the party. Mm-hmm. Went back and looked at all the people who've attended over time, and trying to be able to find out, hey, okay, no, I appreciate you being here, but is there a better time for you that you can be able to show up more regularly? Mm-hmm. So, it's continuing the market research.
I mean, what's a good time? Is it good to do it during work hours, or do it in the evening or weekends?
The majority of the people who responded to me still like the 1 to 4 o'clock time period, and it's either on Mondays or Tuesdays and Saturdays are the people who responded to me.
Okay.
And, but then again, there's a lot of successful Twitter parties that are going on, 7, 8, 9 o'clock every single night.
Right.
But it really depends on who's your audience. So for me to be able to work with entrepreneurs and coaches and healers and people, looking to be able to build their home businesses, they're probably home. And it fits my schedule more condusively to be able to do something at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So we'll probably be switching to Mondays at 1. But just follow the hashtag GLTP, and we'll let you know when the next parties come up later in the year.
So I go up in the top there, GLTP. So I'm on Twubs. I just accessed it, signed up through my Twitter account. So boom, there you are. So that's like your own page.
Yep, your own page,
Cool.
and so as a party goes on, that stream everybody's conversations, the questions will just keep populating in there, and you still have the ability to be able to reply and retweet and favorite.
So this is almost like a mini domain, right? Because
Yeah.
you claim your hashtag and that becomes yours, right?
Yeah. You can register your hashtag with Hubs.
Cool.
I'm not quite sure what kind of legal rights that gives you, but
Well, at least on their site.
On their site, yeah.
Yeah,
So
on their site, you own that word, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm going to register Big Daddy Wes. How about that?
Big Daddy West, excellent.
Very cool. So, all right. So I got to do this. I'll start looking around here, and I'll check some of my words around sales and marketing and what have you, and see what we can come up with.
Oh, there's a lot of good conversations. I know one of my friends, Kate Nasher, does a very successful, very heavily populated Twitter party on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern called People Skills, hashtag People Skills. Mm-hmm. And Lolly Daskell, Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock, has hashtag Lead From Within. Mm-hmm. There's a mastermind, an MM chat. I think it's mastermind chat on Mondays at 8. There's just tons of things, and there's just.
What's the difference here, though? I see it says members, like join this club. You have 5 members, but then contributors, you have a lot of contributors. So and then obviously you're the host. So you have hosts, contributors, and members.
Well, the members, they'll just get notifications when I schedule a new Twitter party.
Okay.
So we'd love them all to be able to be members. So in a sense, they're on your mailing list through that. So that they'll just.
Gotcha.
So it's just a little
Would the contributors be notified as well, or no?
Well, that's one of the things that I do is I go back, and people who contribute to each of their parties, I go back to the stream and I add them to my own Twitter list.
Right.
So I do have a record of them, and so that when I want to be able to send out a survey, I go back and individually send a survey out to everybody who's attended that way.
Oh, gotcha.
So there's a couple of different ways to be able to capture them without them signing up.
Very cool. All right.
So, well, that's another thing. We talked about that, and I know that for a lot of people, Twitter is confusing because there's so much that happens so fast. And what I'd like to be able to offer people a free consultation. I'll do 30 minutes with you, where we can get together, we'll do a screen share, and we'll look at what you're doing, give you some suggestions, and help point you in the right direction, and also be able to tell you about some of the other things that I can do that we might be able to work together to be able to help build your presence and expand Twitter for you. So if you're interested in getting together with me, you can go to bit.ly/review Twitter, and the R in review and the T in Twitter are capitalized. And you can get on my calendar, and we'll get together and see how we can be able to get you to become master of your Twitterverse.
Man, check that out. All right, so I'm making sure this works here. bit.ly/review Twitter, and the R and T are capitalized. Got it.
Yep.
It goes to Time Trade. I use the same thing. Very cool.
Yep. Cool.
All right, and that will be in the show notes. It'll be the saleswhisper.com/Gary-Loper.
Excellent.
Well, thank you, sir. Thanks
Always
for
my
sharing
pleasure.
your story and not holding anything back and giving us some nuggets we can put into use. I've already signed up for TWUBs. Look at that, and I'm a member of your chat. What is it? Chat party? What is it? Twitter party? Twitter chat?
Well, people call them chats or Twitter. I call them a Twitter party.
All right.
You know, it's a virtual networking event. It's a way that people get together. So whatever you call it, it's connection.
Very nice. Well, I thank you, sir, and you have a great evening.
My pleasure, Wes. It's a pleasure. And so until next time, happy tweeting.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Good night.
Who knew there was so much science and tactics and even strategy to Twitter, huh? So do go check that out. What we were talking about there towards the end, this TWUBs. Make sure you are capturing URLs or keywords in your, not only your social media names, right, but in Twitter and other things. Make sure you're using those keywords appropriately because they do get indexed. And try these things out, right? Try these Twitter chats, these Twitter parties. And like we said, hey, if you throw a party and nobody comes, who cares? Nobody will even know. So just host it again, change up how you promote it, change the topic maybe, or just do a little better job getting the word out and try it again. Okay, there's no silver bullet. There's no guarantee this will work. You may kill it on Twitter. It may not work for you at all, but it's worth exploring, right? There's a lot of interaction going on out there. It's a great way to listen. I like the way that Gary talks about you got to give first, right? Find your voice. You got to love the fact that there are no filters, right? You can follow anybody, but be on the lookout for help. Accept it when it comes, okay? But at the end of the day, you have to approach it from a giving and a serving standpoint. Like Gary talks about, give information, build trust and rapport, then slowly work in your offers. Okay, if all you're doing is thumping your chest and throwing out offers, nobody wants to hear from you. Gary Vaynerchuk talks about, jab, 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 right hook. You've got to provide great value, great information so people are interested in you, they're looking forward to what you say. Then every now and then you mention something that's for sale or something you're promoting it. People will either A, tolerate it, or B, even look forward to it, okay, and actually click and buy if you don't do it that often, right? But then if they see you as providing value, that's what you've got to do. Too many people rush into this. We always say good, fast, or cheap. Pick two. That's how you're going to grow your business, okay? Twitter is free. It's a good way to do it, okay, but it won't be fast. If you want fast, then dig deep, okay, and write a big check with a lot of zeros, a lot of commas, and you can build your business fast. Most people don't have that. So enjoy the ride, right? Make sure you have some clear goals and objectives you can measure against, and then do indeed measure and track it, and then go forth and prosper on Twitter. As I said in the beginning, I've got this little book of useless information. The second one for today's podcast is a funambulist. A funambulist. You know what? I'm not going to tell you what that is. Leave a comment and don't Google it. Obviously, you can Google it and find out. In the show notes or in the comments, or even hit me up on Facebook or Twitter. Tell me what a funambulist is. And you know what? Maybe I'll give a little prize. I don't know what. Maybe a free MP3 to one of my CDs or something. I'll figure it out. But let's have fun. Tell me what you think a funambulist is. And as always, thanks for listening. Please be sure to share the love. Tell a few friends. Actually, if you visit thesaleswhisper.com/love, it will create an automatic tweet, and you just have to hit publish. Look how easy that is. Thanks for listening, and remember to sell different.